Hey you guys, it's me Amy with Aspire with Amy, and y'all, I just finished a 40-day fast and I am so excited to share with you this journey that's happened over the past 4 to 5 weeks of being in a sacrifice season of food. But first, I want you guys to subscribe to my channel if you like my content. Share, like, subscribe, and that will be so much appreciated. But let's get into it. So I decided to do a 40-day fast. I turned 40 years old this year and I wanted to do something. Now, don't get me wrong, I've definitely done multiple 30-day fasts, 40-day fasts. If you could ask a lot of my people who know me, they're like, girl, are you fasting again? That's just something that I've always done because there's so many benefits to it that help you do amazing things with God's provision, right? So I wanted to do another 40-day fast, and I told myself I believe this is going to be my last 40-day fast just because it is truly all-encompassing. You really have to be committed and disciplined to go without something that is so pivotal in your life. For me, I'm going to be honest, I actually have a food addiction, and I would say more of an emotional eater. I mean, I've never been to Overeaters Anonymous, but I thought about it. When I'm stressed, I tend to eat. When I'm sad, I eat. When I'm bored, I eat. When I'm happy, I love to eat, right? When I watch a movie, I just want to eat. So for me, I truly believe that food had become an addiction, and it's something that I have to be very mindful of. So for me, doing a fast, I knew that I had to abstain from solid foods, right? Sometimes it's not even the fact of eating, it's just the whole chewing, so anytime I got stressed, and again, I'm a CEO, so there's always going to be times when I'm stressed out, I knew that in order for me to go to the next level, that I had to do a 40-day fast. I had to be able to show that type of level of discipline and execution in order to, number one, prove to myself that I am able to do hard things through Christ who strengthens me. And so I chose a 40-day fast on top of, at the same time, training for a marathon, right? So I just knew that in order for me to go to that next CEO billionaire level, that I needed to do things that most people would never do or try. And I knew that doing a fast would be difficult, but I will say that I feel like this was probably the most difficult fast. And that's mostly because I am running a business. But one of the things that came to me during this time was do not quit. Do not quit. And I thought about the story of Elijah, the prophet. God gave him the gift to do amazing, mighty things. He would go to different places and just do miracles. And he would show that his God was, our God, his God was the mightiest God. And they would be trying to do things like call on rain or whatever, and nothing would happen. But when Elijah was like, come on, rain, God provided. And so he was able to do all these miraculous things through God's gifts for him and his provision. However, there was a particular lady named Queen Jezebel. She sent word to him that she was going to kill him and do all kinds of bad things to him. And for some reason, despite everything that he's seen and witnessed, this really kind of disturbed his soul. And I'm sure he was just tired also from carrying so much weight of being the one to perform miracles, being a leader, being the one who's enacting change. So I believe he was just heavy. Like everything was just heavy on him. And so in the scripture, it talks about how he basically said he just wanted to lay down and die. And that's what he tried to do. I mean, he went to a cave and was just like, I'm done. Like, let me just sleep and not wake up. And I know that seems a bit dramatic, but I feel like if you've ever been a CEO, I've been there where I felt like everything just felt so heavy that I didn't know if I could get back up. I almost want to cry right now. Y'all cut that out, okay? But yeah, there are times when you are a CEO or when you're wearing so many different hats or where you're put in a position where you don't know if you're going to make it through and you just want to give up. But during that time, Elijah rested and God continued to provide for him. I think God was like, you know what, just lay down for a little bit. God had some birds, I believe, bring some food. The wind came. I don't know. Just God just hooked him up and took care of him and just let him rest and recover. And so for me, this 40 days I felt like was going to be a 40-day rest and recovery phase for me, just because I do sometimes feel weary, feel like running a business, not just a beauty school. I have 2 beauty schools, but just running a business in general can feel very heavy. And so I've also started mentoring other entrepreneurs and other business owners, and some of them have also said that they wanted to quit. And so I just wanted to come in here and tell you that my fast let me know that do not give up, do not quit, because God can help you through any situation. And I think we forget the power of our ability to, number one, pray. We have a direct access to God. But number two, we also have the ability to call things as though they are, right? We have the power of the life of death and tongue. We have the power of life and death in the tongue, right? So everything that we say is manifesting, right? If you say, I'm broke or I'm losing this, that's what you're allowing to happen in the atmosphere. So we have to be very proactive in our business. And so I talked to one of my mentees, and she was just saying that the enrollments were low and, things like that. So we went over some strategies on how to, bring back her business. But I truly encourage you, if you've never fasted before, to take that leap of faith. Now, obviously, I'm not a doctor and I don't want you to die, not on my watch. So if you want to talk to your doctor about it and see if that's something that you can do for your health and not have any, major consequences, then so be it. But for the most part, we be eating some crazy stuff anyway. In the Bible, it said there are some things that only come through prayer and fasting. In fact, they're actually trying to take that out of the Bible. In some scriptures, some Bibles, it takes out the fasting part, because fasting is so powerful. So one of the things I first noticed during this recent fast was I had an exuberant amount of joy. Like, even my husband was kind of like, oh my gosh, like he was joking, but he was like, oh, don't stop your fast. You're so happy. And, which was great, because like I said, when you wear many different hats, sometimes you don't always bring that joy back into the house, because you're constantly thinking about everything you need to do. Did I submit payroll? Did we do inventory? And my business is so all encompassing. Sometimes I wonder, why did you start this kind of business, girl? You could have had a t-shirt business and been just fine. But no, I had to choose a business that, encompasses hundreds of people, right? But that's okay. God gives you what you are called to do. So just like with Elijah, he was called to show the prophets who the true God was. He was called to lead people to change, right? He was called to call people out, and that's not easy. So this fast really helped me to understand my role and my abilities, and it also taught me patience. So typically when I am very stressed out, I tend to, let me tell you something, I was so tested during these 40 days to where, I had some students I had to call the police on because they were trying to be aggressive with me. I had just employees that were trying to be, combative with me. I was just like, God, you are really trying to test me, because normally on a day like those kind of days, I would have definitely ordered me a pizza or some burgers and ate it all. Every piece of stress that I felt that day or that week. But I had to be strong. I had to go to the word. I had to pray about it. I had to seek help from, people that are encouraging me, from my husband or my friends, and be like, oh my God, I think I want to give up. But, they make sure you're surrounding yourself with people that support your vision, that support your goals, your dreams, or whatever you're trying to work on. And so, I was able to push through with God's help on some of these difficult situations. But it also taught me patience. It also taught me that people are going through their own thing. And sometimes it has nothing to do with you, how they're reacting or how they're acting, but it is up to you how you react to that situation. So a few times I personally just had to walk away because I could tell that I was being pushed into a direction that was ungodly. Sometimes I called my husband a lot during this during this fast. It was just like, hey, and we kind of have this thing where it's like, because when you're married to your business partner, it's hard sometimes to separate the two, right? And so sometimes when I call him, I'm like, I need my husband or I need my business partner. So most of the time during this fast, I needed my husband because these people was trying me. Okay. But yeah, glory to God that each day was difficult. Now, some people ask, what kind of fast did you do? For me, I avoided solids. I did not have like food that was chewable. I had soups, broths, I had juices, protein shakes, every once in a while, a cream. I definitely had some frappuccinos. But for the most part, I stayed away from like chewing foods, like solid foods, basically. For me, there's something about when I'm stressed. I don't know, there's probably some type of technical term in somebody's psychology book, but yeah, when I'm stressed, I'm an emotional eater. So for me, just staying away from solids. But honestly, during this entire time, I felt really good. Maybe a couple of times I had maybe pain or whatnot, and that's probably just because I wasn't drinking water. I'm also working out excessively, so I'm doing miles, working out with personal trainer. So I'm doing a lot of different things that most people would not suggest when you're actually fasting, but I went ahead and was doing the both of them. Not only that, but also to show people that like fasting is not the end all be all. Now, I did have some people come at me on TikTok saying, when you fast, you shouldn't let people know. Now, granted, I did post it on TikTok like day 1, day 2, day 3, but mostly so to inspire people, because how often do you meet people that actually like do like a long fast? Of course, there are certain cultures, I believe like Ramadan, or where they do from sun up to sundown, but it's almost uncommon for people to try to be like Jesus, do a 40-day fast, or be out in the wilderness like Moses for 40 days. But I was so blessed. I can honestly cry. I'm just so emotional right now. Why am I emotional? Maybe because I'm tired. But I'm so blessed that I met Pastor Charles Martin, and he was the first and only person I've ever known in real life to do a 40-day fast. He had a church in Oklahoma City, and then he would come preach to us in Wichita, Kansas, when I lived there at the time. And I just found him to be so inspiring as far as faith, as far as tithing, and as far as fasting, because that was uncommon. And I literally saw him, come from a healthy sized man to losing a lot of weight, during this time frame. And he mentioned that after your fast, he was so humble. He mentioned a joke that he would sit in a couch before the fast, like, sit in the middle, right? Take up the space. But because of how much God was working in him, when he sat on a couch again, he just kind of sat in the corner, because I guess maybe thinking about the people, or just not taking up as much space, right? So he was probably the first person to ever really inspire me to do a 40-day fast. And I definitely recommend that if you're going to do a 40-day fast, that you accompany it with, number 1, water. Okay, don't die. But number 2, also make sure you have some type of devotional, or you're reading a book. I purchased the most beautiful Bible and this book about prayer for my fast. And so I decided I was going to just start from Genesis and read all the way through. And then I got a book from T.D. Jakes called When Women Pray. Now, some people are like, oh, T.D. Jakes, but to me, he is an amazing pastor and preacher. I don't know what he does outside of the church. I just know what he preaches and how it aligns with my Bible and what I'm going through and what I'm, learning and comprehending. So his book, When Women Pray, really spoke to me, especially certain women's situations that were just dealt very difficult times. And from there, they were able to pray and ask God for help and see how God was able to move during the situation. And I have been blessed in my life. I could cry again. What is going on? I've been blessed in my life to see God move from praying and fasting. And even though I really wasn't praying for anything specific during this time, more so just to allow myself to enjoy this journey, I definitely believe that that came through. I'm just trying to be a little bit lighter. Anyways, but the real thing is to ask, to see, are you carrying the spirit, the fruits of the spirit, right? Joy, long suffering. Long suffering. So I definitely feel like this journey helped equip me to, number one, push myself harder, to have the discipline, right? In order for me to become a billionaire, I need to have the discipline of someone who can do a 40-day fast, right? I need to be able to withstand difficult temptations, stressors, things that will prevent me from going to that next level. When you're on the next level, the little things don't sweat it, right? Is that what they say? They don't sweat you. You don't sweat the small stuff. That's what it is. I gotta start studying my, yeah, you don't sweat the small stuff when you get to a certain level. And that's what I'm trying to do. And so completing my fast this time helped me to realize just how much I can do if I put my mind to it with the help of our God. And it also, of course, some people ask about weight loss. Did you lose weight? I think I lost maybe 30 pounds. I am working with a personal trainer, so we do weigh in every Tuesday and every Saturday, and it just helps me to stay accountable. So she's kind of like, wow, you lost 10 pounds this week or 7 pounds this week, or, so it was probably pretty significant. Of course, it wasn't just for weight loss. When you do a fast, you do lose weight, but you also detox. You also purify your body. You're also getting out things, because honestly, a lot of the foods that they be trying to give us here in the United States, it be almost poisonous, right? It's just got too much of everything, stuff you can't say, you can't spell, you can't it's insane, right? Whereas when you go to a different country, they have banned a lot of ingredients that we just have wholeheartedly just in our foods for our consumers. And so we wonder why we're getting sick. So fasting is not only a great way to help heal your body spiritually, mentally, but also physically, okay? When I'm fasting, any pains that I have usually typically go away. And it's just amazing how much easier things are. I could get out of the bed. I'm not my back, but yeah, so I'm just able to roll out of the bed like a younger person. I would say a 20-year-old, but maybe a 30-year-old, because I'm 40 girl. But yeah, so that is a part of my 40-day fast. Do not give up. There are so many businesses that are closing right now. So many people who are struggling when it comes to entrepreneurship. We're in a strange economy. The mindset is just completely different, but you must hold on. You must not give up. If you feel like this is your calling, whatever business you're in, whatever mentoring or coaching you're doing, or owning a school, or whatever it is, do not give up, okay? God can and will sustain you if you just ask. If you just ask, right? Sometimes we asking everybody but God, right? I'm calling this person, girl, just call God. Just Jesus is on the main line. Tell him what you want. Yeah. So just call Jesus. That's it. So yeah, that was my 40-day fast, and I'll talk a little bit more about different segments of doing a 40-day fast. But yeah, it's truly an amazing experience, and I definitely recommend it. Even if you don't do a full 40 days, you can do a 3-day, you can do a 7-day, you can do a 21-day. I definitely plan to do at some point a 21-day fast. I will probably never do a 40-day fast again, but I definitely wouldn't mind doing a 21-day or a 14-day. Especially a full complete water fast. The longest I've done in a water fast, I think, was 14 days, and that was difficult. Not necessarily the actual act of abstaining from food, but just feeling like you're about to wither away and die. Because again, when I'm fasting, I'm not just doing that, right? I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm still having to cook, I'm still having to work, I'm still having to do all of the things that are required of me even when I'm not eating. So yeah, that was a bit challenging, but I would love to go to do a 21-day fast. If you've ever done a 21-day fast or a 14-day fast, please comment below and let me know how you did, or how you know, tips and tricks on how you succeeded, what you did to break your fast. Just give me all the information. And like I mentioned earlier, that on TikTok, someone kind of commented like, why are you telling people that you're fast? You know, you get, you know, bringing up that scripture where you basically says, you know, when you fast, do not be like some of the other people where they kind of look all sad and like they're dying. And that's not me. When I'm fasting, every once in a while, you know, my husband probably sees it again, but no, when you see me fasting, I'm pretty spry, right? I'm not crying or whining about, you know, maybe I'd be like, oh, that smells good, because like, why are you making jerk chicken when you know that I'm hungry? Not playing, but yeah, everybody else does have to eat, I guess. But yeah, so when you get hit with those really strong smells, you remember, well, your body remembers, hey girl, you have not eaten in 4 weeks. So those are the hardest times. But other than that, as far as the scripture where it says, you know, you don't get a reward for fasting or whatever, sometimes the reward is the actual fast, right? It's not so much that I was fasting to get, you know, a specific car, or you know, sometimes you can fast for a specific outcome, just like in the book of Esther. She told her people, let's fast for 3 whole days, you know, just so that God can move on their behalf. And again, she was able to save her entire lineage because she was brave enough to step out on faith and to fast and ask God. So yeah, but as far as a response, you know, I do my fasting to help me go to the next level, but also to inspire people. Because again, if you've never seen someone do it, how do you know it can be done, right? And so I definitely try to set that example. But of course, when I am fasting, I'm not going around like, hey, I'm fasting. The thing is, it becomes noticeable, right? If you go to dinner or you go out in public, or you just or you're just existing, right? There's eating is nonstop, right? So people notice that I'm not eating, or it's not like I'm like, hey, no, you know, it's like, oh, okay, thank you so much, you know. No, they just know that they're like, why are you not? Especially if you eat like I do, they'd be like, why are you not eating? Like, what's going on? What's going on? And so then you're like, oh, nothing. I'm just gonna drink a soup, or I'm just gonna drink this water with water, maybe a spritz of cucumber. But yeah, so make sure that you know, pray about fasting. If it's something that you've been thinking about, pray about it. You know, when you decide to do it, ask God for help, and then also let your closer friends and family know, hey, I'm about to start this fast and I need your help to help make sure that I, you know, stay committed. And the thing about fasting too, it doesn't have to be from food, so to speak. If food is not your clutch or your vice or whatever you need when you are, you know, whatever you're dependent upon, you know, for some people that could be, oh, I'm dependent on TV or my phone, or I'm dependent on this person, or whatever the case would be. But if you decide that you want to do a fast, you can, you know, eliminate something else other than just food, so to speak. Okay. So make sure you guys subscribe to my channel, Aspire with Amy. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Spotify, iTunes. You can also find me on Instagram at Aspire with Amy _, or you can find me on Instagram at 3D Lash and Brow, and of course TikTok. These days you gotta be everywhere, right? So please follow me everywhere. Help me out, okay?